Have you ever caught yourself watching yourself think, and in that very moment wished you could simply turn off the switch inside your head? It is one of the quietest paradoxes of the human mind. The more you understand yourself, the heavier the weight of living with that understanding can become. Many people believe self-awareness is the key to freedom and fulfillment. But what happens when you reach a point where you dissect every reaction before it even leaves your lips? What happens when the voice in your head is no longer your companion, but a relentless critic logging every move you make? Then what was meant to be your strength turns into an invisible trap. This paradox hits especially hard for those who already have a few decades of life behind them. You know the feeling after an exhausting conversation with your partner. You sit alone in the quiet room, and you can see exactly why you reacted with such irritation. You recognize the old pattern, the one that traces back to your childhood. You know what you should do, but that knowledge paralyzes you instead of setting you free. You become the spectator of your own distress, and suddenly you ask yourself, why does knowing myself hurt so much? Psychology sometimes calls this phenomenon hyperreflection. It is that state where you no longer simply think your thoughts. You constantly evaluate them. You dissect your own motives until they feel foreign to you. Studies show that people with high levels of introspection are often more prone to rumination and decision paralysis, not because they are less intelligent, but because they see more. They see the shadow behind every light. They detect the insecurity hiding behind every confident facade. But the real pain begins when you start judging yourself for your own emotions. You no longer think, I am sad. You condemn yourself for being sad when you should have everything under control by now. In that moment, you split in two. One part of you feels, the other part judges. That is when self-awareness becomes toxic, when it turns into self-prosecution. The solution is not less awareness, but a different kind of awareness. It is not about silencing the inner critic. It is about ceasing to treat him as the captain of your life. It is about seeing your thoughts without having to obey them. Imagine you are behind the wheel of a car. Suddenly, the radio turns on, and one station does nothing but list your mistakes. You cannot force the station to go silent, but you can stop treating every word as a command. Perhaps the greatest illusion of adulthood is believing that one day we will reach a state where our own patterns no longer surprise us. Yet, life only truly feels free when we stop hating ourselves for those patterns. When we accept that the goal is not to have figured ourselves out perfectly, but to choose a clear path despite the lack of clarity. So, here is the question that only you may be able to answer. In what area of your life has your self-observation stop being your strength and become your jailer? And what would change if today you decided to stop judging every thought and instead simply allowed it to be there without having to obey it?